Hey guys, this is Nostalgia. So today we're going to be taking a look at the kind of crap gear you can use and still run the ancient tunnels on Hell difficulty fairly easily also, in fact. It's not going to be super easy with the kind of gear that I'm going to show off in this video. Um, Clearly, if you have, you can already see how bad how bad it is. This is like first day of the ladder kind of gear that I'm gonna be showing off here. The point I'm trying to make is that you can have terrible gear and still do fine and be able to run the ancient tunnels, a level 85 area on hell difficulty. Okay, so I'm just gonna go over each of the gear pieces really quickly here. And oh yeah, also another thing, look at how low my Blizzard and Ice Blast damages are, and how low my resistances are. Okay, so this is not some sort of super min-maxed build or anything like that. It's basically the opposite of that. So on the Merc, I'm using an insight here, but my mana pool, because the gear is so crappy, my mana pool is really low, so I'm still gonna have to use some mana potions, like I would anywhere with a Blizzard Sork, with this low tier of gear. But the insight I have him using is not in an F Thresher or an F Giant Thresher or an F Colossus Vulture. It's in a Battle Scythe, not even F. I have him using a Smoke, literally in just a Curious, an exceptional non-ethereal armor. The reason I'm having him use this is for the resistances. This is, as you can see, Nephlum, very, very cheap. The armor is very, very easy to get, just a 2-socket exceptional armor. You can see what gear you would actually want to eventually work towards if you look at my How I Find Items TC87's video, if you want to see that. I have him using a Tal's Death Mask. This is extremely, extremely common from Hell Mephisto and probably also from Nightmare Mephisto. Blah. Probably also from Nightmare Mephisto. I'd have to look that one up, though. Okay? I'm using Mage Fists, extremely common gloves, of course. I'm literally using 2 plain 10 FCR rings. A Gold Wrap, 35 Magic Find Boots. Okay? This is probably the highest end piece of gear I have on this character, and even still, it is a very, very low end piece of gear. A Spirit and a Crystal Sword. Obviously, eventually, for an Ancient Tunnels Blizzard Sword, you'd either want to work towards, if you're going for full Tals, then, well, you would have a Tal's Orb here, or a Heart of the Oak at some point, or eventually, if you're going for the kind of the setup I have in the other video, a Death's Fathom, because a Death's Fathom gives a ridiculous amount of damage. Heart of the Oak is fairly feasible in single-player pluggy. Death's Fathom is pretty hard to get, on the other hand. This is extremely easy to get, okay? To get a 4-socket Crystal Sword, unless you just find one in Nightmare or Hell or from... Actually, I'm not sure if it can actually drop with 4 sockets from normal cows. But what you can do is, as early as normal cows... Well, actually, I think it would probably have to be from normal cows. There's only so many areas in the game you can do this with. But either way, if you get a plain crystal sword with no sockets in it, it can be superior. I don't think that really matters. It can also be F, which I'm pretty sure also does not matter. So just a plain crystal sword or whatever crystal sword from normal cows with no sockets in it. And you take it to Larzuk, he's going to stick 4 sockets in it. It has to be from normal cows, though. Okay? So this is probably the most expensive piece of gear I have on this character. Just to make the point of how low end this gear is. The, the armor, literally a normal armor piece with 4 sockets in it. You could do the same thing with, say, like a light plate with 3 sockets, but it would just have 3 topazes and somewhat less magic find instead. I'm using a rhyme in a bone shield. Yeah, in a bone shield. Getting a two-socketed Grim Shield, even a superior one, is not that difficult. I've had these drop probably 5 or 6 times more often than White Monarchs, maybe, anyway. They'll be especially common probably from Nightmare Act 3 to Nightmare Act 5. I found mine in Nightmare Act 3 in it was probably the Spider Forest, it might have been the Flare Jungle. Was when I found my first one, as in when I was leveling up my Sork that's now level 95 that you may have seen if you watched some of my other videos. But this is a two-socket bone shield. Um, I could probably show this off. I can't remember if you can shop one of these in Act 2 normal, and I'm not in normal and I don't want to reset my maps, so I'll just put a little note on the screen if you can. You probably can shop a two-socket bone shield in normal difficulty. Again, I'll put a caption about that. Alright, lore in an exceptional helm, okay? These runes you can get very easily from, if not Nightmare Countess, then Hell Countess. Similarly, from Lower Karast, if not in Nightmare, then in Hell. Alright, so this should be very, very easy to get. If you're in single player, or if you're early in the ladder. Or rather, I should say, or if you're early in the ladder. Okay? Literally a magic amulet with magic find on it. Magic amulets can actually roll up to 50 magic find, although that's pretty rare to find one of those. So I just have a 35 one here. I can't remember if I have one that's higher than this. I don't usually pick up magic amulets, though. Okay, again, to see what you're going to want to work towards, I mean, there's a lot of videos on Ancient Tunnels, Blizzard Sorks, but if you want, you can check mine out. Alright, which it's just called How I Find Items TC87s. Again, okay? I could even link that in the description. Although I'm probably not going to link my own video in the description. This video has enough shameless self-promotion in it already. So you can see my resistances are total garbage. And I'm using these really cheap charms with resistances on them, except for this one, which has a decent amount of mana. Nothing too expensive about that, though. And the rest of these small charms are just resistances. That one has gold find. This one also has gold find. These aren't like 20 or 15 resistance charms, though, as you can see. They're very cheap. Alright. Nothing on Switch. I'm not using battle orders, of course, to stick with the theme of this being cheap, to make the point that you can do Ancient Tunnels on a Blizzard Sork with really cheap gear. This, if I'm not mistaken, you can get all of this gear by, like, mid-Nightmare. Probably. Anyway. Okay. So, I tried this on Players 3. If you're going mainly for uniques, you would want to play and you're going on Ancient Tunnels, you'd want to play Players 1 anyway. Now, this is not what I would recommend doing with this tier of gear. If you're at this tier of gear, I would recommend farming Hell Mephisto, or possibly even Nightmare Mephisto to get, like, what would it be? A Skin of the Viper Magi, and some better boots. Probably something like War Travelers. Actually, mainly War Travelers. Okay? But we're just going to be playing on... or rather... but the reason I'm showing this off, the reason I'm doing Ancient Tunnels with this tier of gear, even though I have better stuff, and I just went to my Switch just because I'm used to using battle orders, is because I'm trying to make a point about how low tier of gear you can run Ancient Tunnels with. You're going to want to defensively teleport away occasionally, most likely, if you're using, again, assuming you're using this level of gear. I'm going to grab that skill shrine. Actually, I probably shouldn't have, just for the purpose of the video, but you'll find skill shrines and that sort of... Whoa. Side note, if your resistances are crummy like mine, oh yeah, full disclosure too, I'm not going to be using any full rejuvenation potions, just to make my point even more strongly. Okay? But yeah, if you're using this tier of gear and you're trying to go for magic find like I am, and I'm getting 221 magic find with this, by the way, you can see because I have pluggy. Um, if you're running this high of Magic Find with this tier of gear in Ancient Tunnels, then unless you're playing somewhat defensively, then expect to die occasionally, most likely, anyway. Alright, and also you can see on my bar, I normally have full rejuves in my 3 slot, but I'm doing this without full rejuves. I'm not going to be picking up any. That sort of thing. Okay? So you're going to want to play fairly defensively. The cool thing about Ancient Tunnels is that every item in the game can drop in here, okay? So that's why you might want to run Ancient Tunnels with a really low tier character, but probably not this low tier. You'd probably want to get some better gear from Mephisto before coming here, like Skin of the Viper Magi, Harlequin Crest Shaco, that sort of thing. Okay? So I think that's all of it, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, like, I took a lot of damage at one point there, but you can see I cleared out Ancient Tunnels without too much trouble. That was fairly easy. It didn't really take that long, although I was playing on Players 1. Although if you're running Ancient Tunnels and trying to get uniques and sets as quickly as possible, you're going to want to play on Players 1. Okay? And also you would want to jump from boss pack to boss pack, although that's a little bit dangerous with this low tier of gear. Okay? So that's the point I was making, is that you can run Ancient Tunnels with really crappy gear. I was saying this in my video, and I wanted to prove it to you guys, so I hope this makes my point decently well. Alright, I hope you guys like that, and I'll talk to you later. Have a good one.